Well, hello everybody and welcome to Vinyl Treasures. I'm your host, Johnny G. John Glindo, coming to you live each and every Saturday only here on Top Shelf Oldies. I want to welcome you to the August 31st, 2019 Vinyl Treasure Show. It's the last Saturday of the month. That means it's my all 1960s show. I'll be playing records from 1964 to 1969. I think I venture into 1970 for a couple, and I think I got 3 or 4 from 1963, so that's okay. And I apologize for being a little bit late. I went out for dinner, kind of pre-birthday dinner tonight, as this is my birthday weekend, so going to have a lot of fun. I plan on that. Already I ate too much, but I'm psyched to play some cool 1960s 45s out of my collection. We opened up tonight with Johnny Union and the Pickets, and according to the Encyclopedia of Pop Music Aliases, that is Johnny Union and the Pickets is an alias for Gary Puckett and the Union Gap, who prior to this release had 2 singles as the Outcasts on the Prince label. Russ Regan, who wrote the song and would later become a legend in the music industry, probably saw talent in the group, and he had them record this, but since they were under contract with the Prince label, he decided to name them Johnny Union and the Pickets. Now, Reagan, more than likely inspired by Freddie and the Dreamers song, Do the Freddie. But anyway, that's a pretty cool record instrumental there from March 65, Johnny Union and the Pickets, a.k.a. Gary Puckett and the Union Gap on Imperial. It's called Do the Freddie Dance. Well, that's enough of my babbling here. Let's open up with the vocal portion. This female singer from North Philadelphia, at the time she was only 15 years old when she recorded this. She was working for Campbell's Soup Company. Can you work at 15 years old? I don't know if you could. Maybe back then in 65 you could. But she recorded this tune for the Swan label. We go back to September 1965. Naomi Wilson's her name. It's on Swan Records. It's called Gotta Find a Way. That's the sound of Philadelphia here on the Vinyl Treasure Show. Her name is Naomi Wilson. Naomi Wilson, September 1965 release. Gotta Find a Way is the name of the tune. It's on the Swan record label. Actually, that is the B-side of the 45. The flip side's a nice ballad of the Students, I'm So Young, but she would have another release in 1967 on the Atco label. It was a duet, Naomi and Harris, and that was on Atco. Today she goes by the name of Naomi Wilson Blunt, and on July 5th, 1982, she was sentenced to life in prison without parole for the murder of a man who attempted to kill her partner. And she is still fighting to get released. You can check it out on on the internet that she wants people to write in to get her released. About, I think someone murdered her partner, and they went after them and killed this man, and evidently she pleaded guilty and they gave her life imprisonment. But she is actually singing, or she's trying to sing, but that is a great record by her, so we want her back. Yes, we do. Johnny G here for a Saturday evening. Let's continue here. And this next artist was born in Chicago, Illinois, but he was raised in East St. Louis. He sang in gospel groups since he was a young boy, but then in 1965 began recording for Leonard Chess's Checker label. His biggest hit was a duet he did with Fontella Bass. You may know the tune. It was called Don't Mess Up a Good Thing. He did 2 with Fontella Bass on the Checker label, and he had 3 on his own. This is his third, a tune written by Sugar Pie DeSanto and Maurice McAllister. Let's go back to May of 1967 for Mr. Bobby McClure. Bobby McClure on Checker, a song entitled Don't Get Your Signals Crossed.
When you see the red signal, baby, this means stop for me. When you see the green signal now, go no further, you belong to me. Oh, if another fella's passing by and you see the cursed sign flashing in my eye, don't let the wrong sign mess up your mind. If you jaywalk, you're gonna get caught. Don't get your signals crossed. Don't get your signals crossed. Or when you try to step out the safety zone, you can't stop a broken heart. Or when you try to step out the crosswalk, baby, it's gonna be broken for sure. It's best you know just who I am, so you won't start a traffic jam. Don't let the wrong sign mess up your mind. If you jaywalk, you're gonna get caught. Don't get your signals crossed. Don't get your signals crossed. Staying out on the rubber lane, and don't you switch in or out, 'cause we're not playing a U-turn game. If you think so, you're gonna find out. Or when you try to step out the safety zone, you can't stop a broken order. Or when you try to step out the crosswalk, baby, it's gonna be broken for sure. It's best you know just who I am, so you won't start a traffic jam. Don't let the wrong side mess up your mind. If you jaywalk, you're gonna get caught. Don't get your signals crossed. Don't get your signals crossed. What about that red light, baby? Watch out for the green. Don't get your signals crossed. Caution, baby.
May 67 release there for Bobby McClure on the Checker label. Don't get your signals crossed. That's his third release on the Checker label, and unfortunate that he passed away November 13th, 1992. He was 50 years old. Complications from a brain aneurysm, unfortunately, but that's a cool tune. Johnny G here for a Saturday evening. It's my all 60s edition, the last Saturday of every month. Let's continue here now. I got a couple of actually, I think I pulled out 8 B-sides from last month's show. Now, a couple of 60 shows ago, actually, this one goes back a couple of months, I played a B-side of the first of 2 on David Gates' Planetary label for Dorothy Barry. She was the wife of legendary R&B West Coast singer Richard Berry. Now, the side I featured was called You Better Watch Out. So let's give a spin to the intended A-side before it goes back down in the no humidity basement. David Gates wrote this side too, and this one charted regionally, was number 20 on WHK in Cleveland, Ohio. We go back to November 1964. Dorothy Barry on Planetary, song entitled Ain't That Love. That's the wife of Richard Berry. Dorothy Barry's her name. November 1964 release. Ain't That Love is the name of the tune, written by David Gates, former lead singer of Bread. No, he became the lead singer of Bread. Anyway, Planetary Records for that one. That is, the first of two? Yes, on the Planetary label. Johnny G here for my All 60s edition. And we head to Los Angeles, California for this next 45, which was released 4 different times. Originally came out in 1965 on the Watts label as the Uptones, and the tune was called Taken for a Ride. Then the second time it came out was released on a label called Stardom Records as By the Saints, and they called the tune I've Been Taken for a Ride. Then again in December of 67 was released on the Kent label with that same title as the Saints, and then one more time in 1965 back to the Watts label by the lead singer of the group. His name is Bobby St. James. And as I mentioned, he was the lead of the group. I'm featuring the second release on the Stardom label when they were called the Saints. Features Bobby St. James on lead. Let's go back to December 1967. The Saints on the Stardom label. It's called I've Been Taken for a Ride.
Cause the girl I loved done messed over me. Now I used to rave and talk about love and how good love can be, you see. But for now I know kind words for love. I've asked myself, how did it happen to me? You see, the girl took my heart, then she turned her back on me. I've been taken for a ride. Trying to discover, but I took her love for granted. Now fellas and girls, they can't understand it. That's why the girl took my heart, then she turned her back on me. I've been taken for a ride. I've been taken for a ride. I've been taken for a ride now. I've been taken for a ride now. She used to say that she really loved me, but I couldn't see the girl messing up with me. So if you ever love, take a little time to find if it's true and sincere. Believe me now, I'd look before I'd leave. You see, a girl will lead you on, and the next thing that you know, you'll be taken for a ride.
February 1964 there for a group called the Saints. The Saints there, Bobby St. James on lead. That is the second release on the Stardom label. I've Been Taken for a Ride originally came out on the Watts label as the Uptones. I think I have that record too. Johnny G losing his mind. But hopefully you're digging on the cool tunes as we continue here on the All 60s edition. Now, Mike and the Modifiers had a release on the Gordy label in mid-1962. It was called It's Too Bad, backed by I Found Myself a Brand New Baby. Now, after the group broke up, the lead singer Mike Valvano teamed up with singer singer Johnny Powers for this release on Berry Gordy Jr.'s VIP record label, written by Clarence Paul, who also produced it, and the lead singer, Mike Valvano. Let's go back to February 1964. They were called the Hornets. The Hornets on the VIP label, a song entitled She's My Baby.
Now that I've got my baby, and I know she loves me so, she's my pride and joy now. I'll never let her go. She's my baby, yes, my baby. Now that I've got my new baby, and she's here by my side, I know that she loves me. She told me so. She's going to be my new bride. I just want you to know. She said she loves me, and I know it's true. She said I want to spend the rest of my life with you. She's my baby, yes, my baby. She's the one I love so, and I promise I'll never let her She said she loves me, and I know it's true. She said I want to spend the rest of my life with you. She's my baby, yes, my baby. She's my baby, yes, my baby. She's my
That group called the Hornets. The Hornets on Berry Gordy Jr.'s VIP record label. Actually a duo there. A duo of Johnny Powers and Mike Valvano. Mike Valvano on lead. He was the lead of Mike and the Modifiers. That one there from February 1964. The Hornets with She's My Baby. Let's stay in that year of 1964 for this next singer. Although originally from Wayne County, North Carolina, all his activity as a soul singer transpired here in New York City. Now here's the A-side of his debut 45 on the Phillips label, written by Margaret Nash, the wife of Johnny Nash. We go to March of 1964 for Charles Hodges. Charles Hodges on the Phillips label with a song called I'll Never Go to a Party Again.
I said I'll never, never go to a party again. No, no, never, never, I'll never go to a party again. I took my baby to a party last night. Everything was alright until we walked into the room with the dim lit light. That's all I I'll never go to a party again. No, no, never, never, I'll never go to a party again. Music played softly as she danced with another guy. Let me tell you, I started to cry. I felt like I could die. That's my
is a very cool tune there by Charles Hodges, March 1964 on the Phillips record label. I'll Never Go to a Party Again is the name of that one. Yes, Warren, he has other releases on the Alto label. I think a couple other labels also I have him in my collection, but that's a cool tune. Johnny G here spinning 1960s. Hope you're digging on these cool soul tunes. Let's continue here as we have the Sound of Detroit up next on the Vinyltreasure Show. As this group initially recorded as on the Dynamics label, and their third release would be picked up by the Westbound record label, and that's the label that I'm featuring on. I don't have this on the Dynamics label. I have it on Westbound. It features Billy George Jones on lead. This one from December of 68. They're called the Superlatives. The Superlatives, I have it on the Westbound label. A song entitled Lonely in a Crowd.
As I go, going from place to place, I'm looking everywhere, hoping to see your face. My friends everywhere offer their life to share, but my heart doesn't care.
Johnny G. Quiet Sound of Detroit Soul here on the 60s edition of the Vinyltreasure Show. Those are the Superlatives. Superlatives from December 1968. Lonely in a Crowd is the name of the tune. I featured it on the Westbound record label. Originally came out on Dynamics Records, picked up by Westbound. Billy George Jones on lead there. That is their third release on the Westbound record label. Johnny G here spinning 45s. Let's stay in Detroit for this female singer. She was named Birdie Green. Came on the scene in 1962 on the Perry label. Had a nice release on the N label. It was called How Come, but she has 3 on 20th Century Fox. Let's give a listen to her second as we roll back a little bit. I told you I had a couple, or actually more than a couple, from 1963. This one released in October of 63. We go to 20th Century Fox Records. Give a listen to Birdie Green, a song entitled Get a Hold of Yourself.
Someone else
pretend you don't care. Don't you fall to pieces, girl, now be smart. Don't you let him know he's breaking your heart. Laugh and join the crowd, be careful what you say. Don't stand there and cry, don't give yourself away. Though you know you'll never love someone else, girl, you gotta get a hold of yourself. Though you know you'll never love someone else, girl, you gotta get a hold of yourself. Don't stand there and cry. Get a hold of yourself. Pretend you don't care. Girl, get a hold of yourself.
That's Ms. Birdie Green, October 63. That is the second of three on the 20th Century Fox label. Get a Hold of Yourself is the name of that one. Those are records I used to buy from Barry Saltz. I used to go over to his house in the Bronx, New York, and he used to actually, before he would do the record shows, and I just look through the records, and I'd spend a lot of money, and that was one of the records that he had years and years ago. Johnny G here for a Saturday evening. Let's continue here. Let's stay with the girl groups. And girl group sound here as we move to Baltimore, Maryland for this next group consisted of sisters Anita and Sheila Ross, Terry Jones, and Ronnie Brown. Their signature song, I'm sure many of you know, from 1965. It was called It's Gonna Take a Miracle. But let's give a listen to their first release on the MGM record label, written and produced by Teddy Randazzo. This one from September 1964. Give a listen to the Royalettes. The Royalettes with Sheila Ross on lead on MGM Records, a song entitled Don't You Cry.
Don't you cry, little boy. You're burnt up, and you know you should hide all those teardrops inside. Don't you know no one cares? They've got tears of their own. You're alone when you cry.
North Dakota Bob says that they were named after the Royal Theater, probably in Baltimore, Maryland. That's the first of 9 for the Royalettes. The Royalettes, September 1964, and the MGM record banner Don't You Cry is the name of that one. Now, their first 2 singles came out on the Chancellor label in late 62, the other one in early 63. Then they had another one on Warner Brothers before they signed with MGM Records. Johnny G here spinning original vinyl 45s. This next song will segue into the next 45, because when I was test playing the other record, this song came to mind. But this gal, she's one of my favorite singers from the mid-1960s, and her name is Dusty Springfield. My aunt purchased a couple of her 45s. One was Stay a While, the other one was Wishin' and Hopin'. Those come to mind. But she had a great soulful sound with the majority of her recordings. So tragic that we lost her to breast cancer March 2nd of 1999 at the age of 59. But let's play the B-side to her second U.S. single on the Phillips label. We go back to March of 1964. You flip over Stay a While by Dusty Springfield on the Phillips label. You get this cool tune by Dusty, a song entitled Something Special on Styrene.
First time we met, it was so plain to see. I didn't care for you, you didn't seem to care for me. Oh no, 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 no. The next time we met, I thought he's kinda nice. That look that you gave me simply started to melt the ice. Oh, oh yeah. And then when you smile and smile, and then when we kissed, said wait a while, I got a feeling the two are something special. And now we're together and the world just passes us by. Yeah, every little thing you do makes me sigh with joy that bothers mine. I'm gonna love you for the rest of my life with the kind of loving that's untouched by pain and strife. Come on now, I'm gonna tell you that when I see your face, yeah, and when I'm in your warm embrace, I know for sure our love is something special. It is, yeah, yeah. Right now, when I see your face, oh yeah, and when I'm in your warm embrace, I know for sure our love is something special. Come on now, our love is something special. Oh yeah, our love is something special. Right now, our love is something special.
B-sides here on the 60s edition of the Vinyl Treasure Show. Dusty Springfield, March 64 release. Phillips Records, that's the B-side to Stay a While, song entitled Something Special. Few collectors out there, you want that record on a vinyl promo, or you're going to play the album cut, because the styrene copy of that, especially Stay a While, after you play it a number of times, it just sounds horrible, those styrene records. And depending on how loud the record is, they really wear out much quicker. But anyway, that was the B-side to Stay a While. And this record segues into this next girl group 45 out of Newark, New Jersey. Came out on the Mark III label. Actually, I think it's called Mark III Productions. But this label is located at 449 Clinton Avenue. I pass Clinton Avenue every day on my ride into work. when I go into the utility company at work. But this group was called the Valons, Valons. And we just heard the tune Something Special by Dusty Springfield from March of 64. Let's move to August of 64 for this Valons release with a tune called You're Something Special. That girl group there, they're called the Valons, August 1964. I think this is inspired, that Dusty Springfield record made me think of that 45. The Valons there, You're Something Special is the name of the tune. It's on the Mark III Productions label, written by Harold Thomas, who was from Detroit and a member of the Masqueraders, so you can see there is a Detroit flavor to that cool 45. It's my all 60s edition. It's the last Saturday of every month, so if you're here to listen to 1950s 45s by the Five Satins, you will be disappointed. That will be next Saturday, starting at 10 p.m. It's my all 60s. I collect a lot of records, soul records, R&B, rock and roll, garage, sunshine pop from the 60s. I am a completist as we continue here on the all 60s edition. Now, this next singer has used various aliases in a number of his recordings. He recorded as Johnny Angel, Johnny Shane, Aldo Hubbins, and his real name, Kenneth Ansel. And here is one on the World Artist label he did as Johnny Shane, a song he co-wrote with his uncle, Angelo Spezzi. Let's give it a spin here as we go to World Artist Records out of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, April 65. Johnny Shane on this one, and a song called Flippity Flop Fly.
To the big city. Oh, I know I've never seen a girl so pretty now. Her eyes were so blue, and I felt something new when she looked and she winked her eye. I got that feeling of flippity flip, flip flop fly. It's a wonderful feeling, way down inside me. Flippity flip, flip flop fly. This must be love. I'm so happy I can fly. Now listen. Same street, right away she swept me off my feet. I'm up in the air and I haven't a care, and I know she'll never say goodbye. Here it comes down, flippity flip, flip flop fly. It's a wonderful feeling, way down inside me. Flippity flip, flip flop fly. This must be love. I'm so happy I could try. Now when we go walking together, I know all the fellas are gonna stop and stare. But I know that she's my girl, and we live in a dream world, and I know she'll never say goodbye. Sing it with me now. Flippity flip, flip flop fly. It's a wonderful feeling. Come on and try. Oh, flippity flip, flip flop fly. I'm in love. I'm so happy I could try. Listen, I'll never be alone again, 'cause I know I found someone that's more than a friend. I was once a lonely guy till she came into my life. So everybody, fall in love, don't be shy. Get that feeling up. Flippity flip, flip flop fly. It's a wonderful feeling. Come on and try it. Oh, flippity flip, flip flop fly. Find yourself a woman. Come on now, don't be shy. Sing it with me now. Flippity flip, flip flop fly. Flippity flip, flip flop fly. Find yourself a woman. Come on now.
His name is Johnny Shane, but that's an alias. His real name is Kenny Ansel. April 1965 release on the World Artist record label, a song entitled Flippity Flop Fly. Now, this song would be re-released, believe it or not, in August of 1969 on the I think it was RPR Records. I forgot to type that in, on RPR by Aldo Hubbins. I don't know why he changed his name to Aldo Hubbins, and a slightly different title, Flippity Flip Flop Fly. Anyway, Johnny G flying along here on the All 60s edition. For you listeners out there that are sending me requests, very difficult. If I played MP3s like Hi-Fi Tim, I could easily fill your requests, easily in a nanosecond. But I can't go down 2 flights or 3 flights of stairs and pick out a request. You have to let me know in advance, like many of the listeners do. And sometimes I communicate with them and say I'm playing 1 or 2 or 3 or all. Sometimes I revolve the show around requests, as many of you know, and have thanked me in email. So let's continue here on the Vinyltreasure Show for this next singer-songwriter from Atlanta, Georgia. Began his career back in 1958 on the NRC record label. Had a couple of big national hits, like in 1969. I'm sure many of you know the tune Games People Play. In 1970, he had another hit called Walk a Mile in My Shoes. Now, along with many other releases, but for some reason, a lot of other artists that sang his songs did much better than he did. Now, some that come to mind are Billy Joe Royal's version of Down in the Boondocks did much better than his version. Lynn Anderson's version of Rose Garden is another one. And here's another tune actually recorded by Billy Joe Royal that did better than his release. Now, Billy Joe Royal's release came out in November of 65, but the original came out in August of 65. As we go to Apt Records, and the artist who wrote the tune and is now singing it is Mr. Joe South. He wrote this song and did it originally. So let's go to August 65 on the Apt record label, a division of ABC Paramount Records, for Joe South and the original version of I Want to Be Somebody.
I never had any reason for ambition or drive. In fact, I never had nobody that cared if I'm alive. But then one day she came my way and I heard a voice within me say, don't let her get away, whatever you do. But I never thought that this could be that she would ever look at me seriously. And that's why, oh Lord, I've gotta be somebody. Yes, I have. I'm down on my knees, and I'm begging, please, 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 please. I've gotta win her love for me. I grew up on the sidewalks, got along the best I could. Mama worked all day long, and Papa was no good. I never asked for much before, but here I am in heaven's door. So help me please, don't let her pass me by, 'cause I would rather die than see her love turn into sympathy for me. And that's why I'm I've gotta be somebody. Yes, I have. I'm down on my knees, and I'm begging, please, 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 please. I've gotta win her love for me. Gotta be somebody. Yes, I have. Gotta be somebody. Tired of being a nobody. Oh, Lord, Lord, Lord. You know I've got to be somebody. Yes, I have. Down on my knees, begging, please, please, please. I've got to win a love.
That's the original version by Joe South. He wrote the tune, released in August of 1965. I Want to Be Somebody is the name of that one. On Apt Records, it came out on Apt Records. Of course, the Billy Joe Royal did better than that. August 65, released later in the year. Johnny G here for a Saturday evening. Hope you're digging on these cool tunes. Let's continue here. Now, on this next 45 is a request for Chuck Staton. I sent Chuck an email. He sent me some great requests. I had them all, except one of them, which I still might have, because I didn't check my Ken Klee book that, I stopped about 7 years ago from checking off stuff that I've been purchasing. And I've been purchasing all along. I don't buy that much anymore on eBay, not with the New York State sales tax. I am not spending 8.5% more on my 45s. You got to sell to me privately, folks, or a special deal with a couple dealers that I deal with. But anyway, can't talk about that. But I don't have my 60s collection in order, unfortunately. I have hundreds, I wouldn't say thousands, almost thousands of boxes of records that are just, I got stickers on them that say 1960s. So when I prepare for this show, I pull out a number of boxes and I look at records that look interesting, or I'll start playing them. Like I was on for 3 hours the other night just test playing records. I think I played 70 records, or no, I played more than that, because I had 69 copyright infringements that they didn't really do anything with. They didn't block it, but there were 69 copyright infringements. I played a lot more because I played both sides of every record. But anyway, this is a request for Chuck Staton, and what did I say? I lost my train of thought here. And I had this one filed away because I think I must have stopped filing my 60s records sometime in the mid-1990s, but this was filed in the right place. It was in the O boxes. He requested the Orlons that had a string of hits on the Cameo label. You know their tunes. The Wah Wah Tootsie, Don't Hang Up, South Street. They had 19 in all releases on the Cameo record label, but they did do one on the Calla label, produced by and arranged by Jimmy Wisner and Billy Jackson, as requested by Chuck Staton. He used to hear this one on Philly radio back in 1966. So for Chuck, we go back to March of 66. The Orlons on the Calla label with their tune called Spinnin' Top.
Yeah.
By request for Chuck Staton there, those are the Orlons' March 1966 release on the Calla label. Song entitled Spinnin' Top. That's a cool dancing record. Thank you for that request, Chuck. Digging on that tune, people in the Top Shelf Oldies and the YouTube chat room there. Now, that's actually not their last record. They would have two more releases that came out on the ABC record label in 1967. That's a cool one there from March 66 by the Orlons, Spinnin' Top. Let's continue here. Told you that I kind of float back a little bit into the 1963 vein, and we go to Morris Levy's Roulette record label next. Now, this singer goes by the name of Little Lover. Really couldn't find any info about this guy. It was like I was researching the producer was Paul Vance. I was looking at the writer credits. They were just writers that were writing for songs for people to pick up and sing. I couldn't find anything on this Little Lover. He does another record on the Vest label, which I do have. But let's give a listen to this one here. This is the intended B-side. It was produced by Paul Vance. Came out in November of 63. Little Lover on Roulette. It's called Anonymous Letter.
I received an anonymous letter today, and this is what it had to say. She's been cheating on you for such a long, long time. She's been going around kissing everyone and listening to everybody else in the line. But I tell you to ask anyone, cause everybody knows. No, I said ask anyone, cause everybody knows. Open up your eye, fool. She's putting you down behind your back. She's going out with Jimmy, Joe, and Jack, and when you walk by, they say, I feel sorry for the guy, awful sorry for the guy. And so I come to you, girl, to ask you if it's true, cause I'd rather hear from you than anyone else if you've been cheating like this little say you do. I'm asking you, yeah, you, no one else if you've been cheating behind my back. No, I'm asking you, yeah, you, if you've been cheating behind my back. Or is this anonymous letter just a trick, or Jimmy Joe's a jack? What's to this an anonymous letter bit? Who wrote it? What's to this an anonymous letter bit? Who wrote it? Come on, baby, and ease my mind. Tell me that your love is mine, all mine. Tell me what's to this an anonymous letter bit? Who wrote it? What's to this an anonymous?
November 63 release there for Little Lover. Whoever Little Lover is, I have no clue. Anonymous Letter is the name of the tune. Came out on Morris Levy's Roulette record label. The tempo changes in that are pretty cool. Johnny G here for a Saturday evening. Let's continue here. And I saw this record in the box here. It's not in great condition, but it was a 45 I purchased from the Count, Bob Ellis. I know some of you that go to the record shows or have in the past like I have. I go way back to the to the late 70s for these record shows and dealt with Bob for a number of years. It hasn't been for maybe about 15 years or so. I haven't purchased a record from him. Although once in a while he would call me on a rare record, but I do have them now, these 50s records. But used to buy 60s records also, and he used to go to the depths of wherever to get these records. The condition of this is not good, but I saw saw on the sleeve he charged me $5 for this record. Now, Daryl Letts, I'm going to have to ask you to check this one out on Pop Psych, see what this record sells for now. But it's out of Detroit, Michigan, actually your neck of the woods too. We go to the Target label. This label probably owned by Johnny May Matthews and Sammy Marshall, as he also owned the Dila label. I think that's what it's called, the Dila label, as this artist had two releases, one on Target and one on the Dila label, that would get picked up by Atco. Atco would pick up the other one, not this one though, from 1965. So his name is Calvin Williams. Calvin Williams. He has two records on the Target label. This is his first, and this is the intended B-side. Both sides are excellent in my opinion, but I'm apologizing in advance for the condition. Calvin Williams on Target from 65, called It Don't Mean a Thing. Actually, it's not scratches, it's grime. I tried cleaning that. I got to take a toothbrush to that. But Hi-Fi Tim's going to lend me his MP3, he said. He bought the record when it came out in 1965, so he taped his original copy when he purchased it for 79 cents back in 65. So thank you, Hi-Fi Tim, for that. Going to have to put the toothbrush to that one. But that's Calvin Williams, 1965. It Don't Mean a Thing on the Target label. That is the B-side of the 45. The flip side's pretty nice, too. The A-side of that 45. So that's going to be on the next 60's show on next month's final Saturday of the month. Johnny G here for a Saturday evening. Let's continue here. Now, here's a group from Fredericksburg, Virginia, if I said that right. And they recorded for our local labels, two of them, Groovy Records and TCB Records. Now the TCB single was picked up by A&M Records, and the A-side was a cover of a Jerry Butler song, He'll Break Your Heart. But I'm playing the B-side of the 45, which is a Goffin King composition, first recorded by Chuck Jackson. But let's give a listen to this version by a group called the Groovers. These are the Groovers, not the same Groovers that recorded for the Minute label. This is not that group. This is another group. It features Robert Williams on lead. Let's go to July of 1969 on the A&M record label for the Groovers and their rendition of the tune I Need You.
Since the day I lost you, girl, I just can't face the world. I can't help feeling kinda small. I let you go away, but now I ain't ashamed to say I need you. I know that I need you. For without your love, life's just no good at all. I guess I lost my head. I know I must have said a lot of things to make you cry. I made myself a lonely man, but now I've come to understand I need you. I know that I need you, and I'm gonna keep needing you till the day I die. Oh, I need you to confide in. Yes, I do. I need you to take pride in. Yes, I do. I need your shoulder to cry on. Yes, I do. You're all I've got to rely on, and that's why I need you. All right. Oh, baby, 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 take me back again. I'll tell it to you now, what I'd say then, how much I need you. You know that I need you. For without your love, life's just no good at all.
Cover tunes here on the Vinyltreasure Show. Actually, that's like Blue-Eyed Soul there by a group called the Groovers. Robert Williams on lead, the first of two on A&M Records, July 1969. On A&M Records, the Groovers with I Need You. That's not the same Groovers that recorded for the Terry D or Minute labels. Johnny G here spinning 1960s 45s. I apologize for some of the conditions, but for the most part, they play pretty nice. Now let's continue. Up next, Jimmy Boyd. Now this is the same guy that had that 1952 Christmas song. You know the song, I Saw Mommy Kissing Santa Claus. He was just little Jimmy Boyd back then. He was 13 years old. So let's move up 14 years now. 14 years to 1966 for this Leon Russell arranged tune produced by Snuff Garrett. It's the first of three he recorded on the Imperial banner. This one charted number 2 on KOWN in Escondido, California, if you know where that is. So let's go to April of 1966 for an older Jimmy Boyd on Imperial. It's called I Would Never Do That.
He's been running around on you.
That's the first of three on Imperial Records for Jimmy Boyd, a big number 2 record on KOWN in Escondido, California, April 66 release. I Would Never Do That is the name of the tune. Unfortunate that we lost Jimmy Boyd March 7th of 2009 at the age of 70. Passed away from cancer. We remember him here on the Vinyltreasure Show. Let's continue here. Let's go back to Morris Levy's Roulette record label for this British record producer and owner of the Singer record label over in the UK, I think, though much later. And he was instrumental later on with launching the careers of UK acts Peter Starstedt and Anna Silvera and David Sylvian and his band Japan. Do you know any of those guys? I don't. Really, I don't. But early in his career, he had a couple of releases here in the United States, one on Columbia and this one on Morris Levy's Roulette record label. Let's go to June of 1966. I think Fred liked this on my on the test play show that I played. I think he did, but I think Fred likes the next record. Anyway, Ray Singer's his name. It's on Roulette Records with a song entitled Hey, H-E-Y, Hey Who.
Hey,
Morris Levy trying to help out Ray Singer over in the UK from June 66 on his Morris Levy's Roulette record label. Hey Who is the name of that one. It probably said, how can I get my record over in the United States? Who could I call? Let me call Morris Levy. Maybe he can swing something for me. I'm sure he could. Johnny G here for a Saturday evening, spinning original vinyl 45s out of my collection. Let's continue here. Now let's send this next song out to listener Fred Clemens. Fred mentioned this was one of his favorites that I played on my test show. I did a 3-hour test show, just playing records. I played some 50s. Mady Campboy from my 50s show came in. We didn't see her last week, but I told her, I says, Mady, no 50s and early 60s stuff tonight. But Fred came in. Haven't seen Fred in a while, but he said he liked this song by this quartet from, is it Oconto, Wisconsin? They have this 45 on a label called Test Records out of St. Paul, Minnesota, written by group member Phil Cornelissian. That's who's the writer is. He's probably doing lead because he wrote both sides of the 45. Not always, but I would just bet on it. I would. Anyway, from August 65, they're called the Rhythm Royals. We'll send it out to Fred on the Test label. It's called Out of My Mind.
Every night as I lay my head down and go to sleep, I think of how lucky I am to have you. And I thank my lucky stars for your love, 'cause with your love I know I will never, ever be alone. Every day my heart seems to love you more and more. Every minute you're near me, I just go insane. And what's more, when you are away from my side, I go out of my mind just when somebody mentions your name. When you're by my side, I'm sitting on top of the world, and I'll stay there as long as you're with me. But if you should ever leave me for another, oh, how lonely and sad I'd be. I would be. Every day my heart seems to love you more and more. Every minute you're near me, I just go insane. And what's more, when I'm away from my side, I go out of my mind just when somebody mentions your name. I go out of my mind just when somebody mentions your name.
August 65 release there for the Rhythm Royals. The Rhythm Royals. Send it out to Fred Clemens there. Out of My Mind is the name of that one on the Test record label. That group out of the record label out of St. Paul, Minnesota. I think Joel Scherzer sold me that 45 by Robbie Records. He was another one I used to buy a lot of records from back in the 80s and the 90s. I did. Johnny G here for a Saturday evening. Let's continue here. Up next, a group from Denver, Colorado. They go by the name of the Benzie Crick. They actually they actually spell it out for you phonetically on the record label. Actually, it's spelled BOENZEECRYQUE, but they tell you that it's pronounced BEN-ZEE space CRICK. Benzie Crick. That's how you pronounce it. But anyway, they have this single that initially came out on the Chicory label. Then it was picked up by Uni Records. This was a big #1 record in Denver, Colorado on KIMN. #1 on that station. And it's produced by Frank Slay, and it's a cover song. It was first recorded by the Beau Brummels. But let's give a listen to this version from March of '67 for the Benzie Crick on Chicory, featuring it on the original label and their rendition of the tune Still in Love with You, Baby.
It's been a pretty long while. It's been a mighty long time. I don't know why I feel this way. Can't figure out the reason I'm still in love with you, baby. Still in love with you, baby. You're still driving me crazy. You're still driving me crazy. Still in love with you, baby. Baby, don't you know my heart is breaking up inside of me? I can't go on this way forever. I can't go on this way for long. I have a feeling you don't love me. Why don't you prove that I'm wrong? Still in love with you, baby. Still in love with you, baby. You're still driving me crazy. You're still driving me crazy. Still in love with you, baby. Baby, don't you know my heart is breaking up inside of me? I'd like to know what's on your mind. I hope you find it's me. Bet I can tell what's on your mind. It would be fine with me. What can I do so I can prove it? What can I do to show my love? If you want my heart, please remove it. Don't want no one-sided love. Still in love with you, baby. Still in love with you, baby. You're still driving me crazy. You're still driving me crazy. Still in love with you, baby. Baby, don't you know my heart is breaking up inside of me? I'd like to know what's on your mind. It would be fine with me. Bet I can tell what's on your mind. I hope you find it's me. What can I do so I can prove it? What can I do to show my love? If you want my heart, please remove it. Don't want no one-sided love. Still in love with you, baby. Still in love with you, baby. You're still driving me crazy. You're still driving me crazy. Still in love with you, baby. Baby, don't you know my heart is breaking up inside of me? Don't you know my heart is breaking up inside of me?
Cover tunes here on the 60s edition of the Vinyltreasure Show. That is the Benzie Crick version of Still in Love with You, Baby, originally done by the Beau Brummels, March 1967. Featured on the original label Chicory Records, a styrene press that plays pretty nice. You can also get it on the Uni label. Yes, you could. I think I've played that on the Uni label. Johnny G here for a Saturday evening as we continue here. We're back out to the UK now for this garage group. Actually, I think garage tune here. This group had only 2 U.S. releases. Their second release came out in May of '68 on the London label. They were managed by a Rolling Stones bassist Billy Wyman. But let's give a listen to their first U.S. release, which came out on the Phillips label 3 years earlier, co-written by the guitarist and lead singer of the group, Colin Griffin. And apologizing in advance for the sound of quality of this. This is a mint record, but for some reason there's overmodulation or something with some of these Philips 45s. I don't know what it is, but let's give it a spin here. I think Dave the Rave's copy also, he tells me, plays pretty crappy, for that matter, but not a bad tune here from October 1965. They're called The End. The End on the Philips label with a song entitled Hey Little Girl.
see teardrops now. What's the matter with you? What has made you act this way? You're so very young now. Much too young to cry like that. Much too young to cry like that. Hey little girl, what has made you feel this way? Hey little girl, what are you afraid to say? What has made you feel so blue and broken your heart in two? You're so very young now. Much too young to cry like that. Much too young to cry like that. Hey, what's the matter with you? You're not so very old that you will never find another to stay by your side. Hold you tight, tell you everything's alright. Hey little girl, soon you'll find somebody new. Hey little girl, you'll soon forget you ever knew. Someone who could make you cry, make you wish that you could die. You're so very young now. Much too young to cry like that. Much too young to cry like that. Much too young to cry like that.
Yeah, Jeff agrees with me that unfortunate great record there, but sounding terrible. Dave the Rave, the Sunday night DJ here of Relics and Rarities, this guy told me his copy also doesn't play that way. It's possible that it was pressed at the end of the cycle, like the one of those stampers can only do so many presses before they start going bad, unfortunately. But they're called The End from October 1965 on the Philips label. That's their first UK release. Hey Little Girl is the name of the tune. Let's continue here. Let's head to Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania for this next group. They made their debut in 1964 on the Ricky C label, but recorded for many different labels during their career. Now, this song originally came out on the local Stone label in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, was then picked up, though, by Imperial Records. This one charted #1 on two stations in Pittsburgh, KDKA and KQV in Pittsburgh, had this as a #1 record. It features Sonny D'Annunzio on lead. Let's go back to December of 1964. They're called the Fenways. The Fenways on the Imperial label, and their tune's called Walk.
Don't turn around. Whoa, whoa, now baby, walk with me before he breaks your heart. Come on, come on, come on, come on and walk with me, girl, before he makes you cry. Oh me, oh my, walk. If you stay, he's gonna make you blue. Ooh, walk. Just think of all the things he'll don't turn around. Oh, when he tries to bring you back to him, hold your ears and close your eyes. Just turn your back to him. Don't listen to his lies. Come on, come on, come on, come on and walk to the guy who loves you tenderly. Ooh, walk and see how wonderful
no turn around. Whoa, whoa, now baby, walk with me before he breaks your heart. Come on, come on, come on, come on and walk with me, girl, before he makes you go right. Oh me, oh my, oh me, oh my, now walk with me, girl, before he breaks your heart. Come on, come on, come on, come on and walk with me, girl, before he makes you go right.
That was the number one record in the Pittsburgh area back in December, actually probably early 65. The Fenways there on Imperial started off pretty terrible, styrene, then it sounded better as it got through. I hate these styrene presses, I do. That song entitled Walk, Sonny D'Annunzio on lead. This group would later change their name to the Racket Squad on the Jubilee record label. It was unfortunate that Sonny D'Annunzio, the lead, he would die in a car crash on November 22nd of 1978. He was only 36 years old, but he left us with some cool tunes. Johnny G here for a Saturday evening. Let's continue. And back to Denver, Colorado, we go for a group called the Moonrakers. They had 4 releases on the Tower label and another 3 that came out on the Shamley record label. But let's give a spin to their first release on Tower Records. This also was a number 1 record in Denver, Colorado on KIMN. It was a number 1 song there. The song written by the lead singer Denny Flanagan. This one from August of 65. They're called the Moonrakers. It's on Tower Records. It's called You'll Come Back.
Only time could tell. I only hope all turns out well. Maybe you'll come back again. You hurt me, caused me pain, but I can't help wanting you back again. So hold me just once more. Baby, you'll know how I'm longing for all the good things and then baby, you'll come back again. Caused me pain, but I can't help wanting you back again. So hold me just once more. Baby, you'll know how I'm coming for all the good things and then baby, you'll come back again. Baby, you'll come back again. Baby, you'll come back again.
That's the first of 4 for a group called the Moonrakers. The Moonrakers on the Tower label, a big number 1 record in Denver, Colorado. At the time, August 65 released the Moonrakers with You'll Come Back. Let's continue here. Let's go back to Philadelphia, PA for this singer that was previously the bass player for Dickie Doo and the Don'ts, but in 1963, he went solo with his first release on the Warner Brothers record label, but others followed on other labels, Tolly and VJ and Mira, and this label that I'm featuring, the Phillips label. Now here is his second of 2 on the Phillips label, and a cover song. This tune was first recorded by Ray Whitley, believe it or not, on the Columbia label back in 1966. But let's move to April of 67. Give a listen to Joey Page. Joey Page, Paige, on the Phillips label. It's called Just a Boy in Love.
Why am I so happy? What makes me feel
Dave said, make sure you play that 45. So there you go, Dave. I did. Joey Page there. Cover tunes here on the Vinyl Treasure Show, April 1967 on the Phillips label, the second of two on Phillips, for Joey Page, called Just a Boy in Love. That's the name of that one. Let's continue here on the Vinyl Treasure Show. I told you I had a record from 1970. This one from August 70. So Hi-Fi Tim, do not get mad at me. August 70, that almost qualifies as a 1969 release. Anyway, but here's another cover song as we just eke into the year 1970. This song first recorded by the Foundations as their third uni single, which was called Any Old Time, which came out in 1968. So let's move up to August of 1970 for a group called Sweet Henry. And it's their second of three. It came out on the Paramount record label. This one arranged by Jimmy Haskell. This one charted regionally. This was number 22 on WSCR out of Scranton, Pennsylvania. We go to August of 1970 for Sweet Henry on Paramount Records, and the tune Any Old Time You're Lonely and Sad.
That your love goes wrong, just you hold tight, baby. I'll be along. I will dry your tears away, and when they disappear, I'll be there. I'll come from anywhere. You know that any old time, baby, that you're feeling down, just you hold tight, baby. I'll be around. I won't break your heart or even try to take your heart. You're feeling bad. Any old time, you're lonely and sad. That loving him is all your heart's set on. Far be it from me to try to end a love that's going strong. If there's ever a day you feel your love slip away, any old time, baby, that your love goes wrong, just you hold tight, baby. I'll be alone. From anywhere, you know that any old time, baby, that you're feeling down, just you hold tight, baby. I'll be around. I won't break your heart or even try to take your heart. Feeling bad, any old time, you're lonely and sad. You're better off loving him. He can give you more than I ever can. I'm not stepping in just to break the heart of a better man. But if there's ever a day you feel your love slip away, any old time, baby, that your love goes wrong, just you hold tight, baby. I'll be alone. I won't cry your tears away when they disappear. I'll be there. I'll come from anywhere.
That's my entry from August 1970 by Sweet Henry, cover of the Foundations tune Any Old Time You're Lonely and Sad, came out on the Paramount record label. Would you believe I have that Paramount label, bought all those records for $1 or less? So I don't know if there's any rare soul records on that label. There might be, but that's how I made, if I'm going to make some money selling these records in retirement, hopefully I will. Johnny G here, spinning 1960s 45s, and let's continue with the cover tunes here. And it's a request for Die, listening in California. This group is out of East LA. Their 45s came out on two labels. Chattahoochee Records and the Whittier label was another label they recorded on. Now, this song I'm playing was their biggest hit, which was number 67 on Billboard, did better on Cashbox by 10, 57 on Cashbox. Well, this was a number one record on WTRY in Troy, New York, of all places, and also on WOND down in Atlantic City, New Jersey. It's a cover song. It was first recorded by Chris Kenner in 1963. It's not my favorite by the group, but Di wanted to hear a song by this group, and they have so many other cool tunes they do on the label. I couldn't find them. I told you my 60s filing system is a total mess. I need Charlene to come here and help me file all the 45s. But anyway, this goes out to Di. It features Willie Garcia on lead. We go back to December of 1964 for the Midnighters, THEE Midnighters on Chattahoochee Records. It's called their rendition of the tune Land of a Thousand Dances.
Gotta know how to pony, like a pony Maroney. To the church, let me see it work. To the tango, take me to the tango. Look in time, looking fine. To this band, like a major land. I said, oh, na 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 na, na 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 na. Mashed potato, like an alligator. Hunting time, looking fine. To the church, let me see it work. To this band, like a major land. To watch you dance, like a Lucy band. One more time.
That's going out by special request for Di, listening over in California. Those are the Midnighters. December 1964 release on the Chattahoochee label. Land of a Thousand Dances Part 1, believe it or not, is the name of that one. The flip side is Part 2. That's the first press. There is a second press. First press came out in December of 64. In January of 65, the second press has a different flip side, has Ball O' Twine as an instrumental flip side. And I guess they did that live. I don't know where the venue was that they did it, but with records with the screaming in it, they just don't register with me for some reason. But anyway, that's Willie Garcia on lead. We send it out to Di, listening over in California. Johnny G here for a Saturday evening as we continue here. Up next, a group out of Miami, Florida, and featuring their 45 on the local Deep City label, and then eventually Brent Records picked this up for national distribution, but I'm playing the original on Deep City. The group consisted of Robert Thomas, Woodrow Tucker, Morris Clemens, Jimmy Hartfield, and Morris Hill. Collectively, they were known as the Movers. This one from April of 1967 on Deep City Records, The Movers with One Little Dance.
The minute you said no, I knew I didn't stand a chance. All night long I've been watching you, trying to get just one little dance. But you broke me so when you said no, when all I asked for was one little dance. Now I watch all the other guys coming to you one by one, and you'll dance with each of them. Seems if you're having so much fun, but you turn me down each time I came around, and all I asked for was one little dance, girl, from then I would feel so very fine, and you would always be on my mind. If only I could be close to you. Yeah, there's nothing I won't do for you. Hurt me so when you said no, when all I asked for was one little dance, girl. You turned me down each time I came around, and all I asked for was one little dance, girl. One little dance, baby. That's all I wanted from you, darling. One little dance, my little baby. That's all I wanted. One little dance, baby.
April 67 release there for The Movers. They're out of Miami, Florida, featured on the original label Deep City Records. That's another Barry Soltz 45. The Movers there, One Little Dance, also came out on the Brent record label. Now, this group would eventually evolve into the Prolifics in the early 1970s. Johnny G here for a Saturday evening. It's almost midnight here as we go into Vinyl Treasure Overtime. Now let's go back to the girl groups now. This group out of Los Angeles, California, they were discovered by Kim Fowley. They were called the Mermaids. They had 5 releases on Ruth Conti's Chattahoochee label. Their biggest hit, I'm sure many of you know, was a song called Popsicles and Icicles. Now here is their third, arranged by Perry Botkin Jr. and arranged by Perry Botkin Jr. and produced by Stan Ross. This one charted number 21 on WTBC in Tuscaloosa, Alabama. We go back to March of 64. These are the Mermaids on Chattahoochee with a song entitled Wild and Wonderful.
Before we met, my life was as calm as an untroubled sea. Then you came, and with just one kiss you changed all that for me. Now it's wild
March 64 release there for the Mermaids. The Mermaids on Chattahoochee Records. Wild and Wonderful is the name of that one. I found Cheryl Morgan sends me requests. I have trouble finding her requests too. They're like kind of like on the cusp for my group harmony show, but I did find she requested Blue Dress by this group, the Mermaids, so I do have that for Cheryl for next Saturday night's show. Johnny G here, now in Vinyl Treasure Overtime. We head out to Milwaukee, Wisconsin for this next group. Their debut single came out on the local Reynard record label, which this one also came out on the Champ label, which was also out of Minnesota, or I'm sorry, Wisconsin. But both sides of this 45 written by Ron Barzik, a.k.a. Ronnie Premier. Now, the lead singer goes by the name of Kenny Jablonski. As we go to April of 64, this group is called the Roadrunners. The Roadrunners here, it's on the Reynard label. Their tune is called It's So Hard.
It's so hard since you've been gone. It's so hard, girl, I can't go on. You know the way you used to move me, make me feel so good. You know the way you used to soothe me every time you go. But it's so hard since you've been away. It's so hard, there is no happy day. You know the way you used to hold me each and every night. You know the way you used to squeeze me and try to lose my mind. Baby, it's so hard. Baby, it's so hard. Baby, come on home. Baby, come on home. Baby, need your love. Baby, need your love. Baby, I'm all alone. Baby, I'm all alone. It's so hard since you've been gone. It's so hard, girl, I can't go on. You know the way you used to move me, make me feel so good. You know the way you used to soothe me every time you go. Baby, it's so hard. Baby, it's so hard. Baby, come on home. Baby, come on home. Baby, need your love. Baby, need your love. Baby, I'm all alone. Baby, I'm all alone. Baby, need your love. Baby, need your love. Won't you come on home? Won't you come on home? It's so hard. 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 Baby, it's so hard.
You know something? It's so hard to find some of these records in mint condition, especially when you're spending 10 cents and 25 cents for these 45s like I did. But anyway, those are the Roadrunners, April 1964 release on the Reynard label, local label out of Milwaukee, Wisconsin, with It's So Hard. Now, this group would evolve into the how do you pronounce it? Bogies Chimes. Is that how you pronounce that? Bogis? I need some pronunciation classes. The Bogies Chimes on the Champ record label. Johnny G spinning original vinyl 45s, going crazy here. This next singer was born in Alexandria, Virginia, but later moved to Washington, D.C. His birth name was Barry P. Rigoy. Is that how you say that, Charlene? But he recorded as Barry Darvell. There you go. But he recorded on a number of different labels. But here is one on the World Artist label out of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. This one charted regionally, number 25 on WTAC out of Flint, Michigan. It's with Hash Brown and the orchestra. They were the house band for World Artist Records. This one from May of 65. Give a listen to Barry Darvell. I like that better. On World Artist Records, it's called I Found a Daisy in the City.
City streets don't need the April showers. Sidewalks don't grow any flowers. But let me tell you now, I found a daisy in the city. Right here in this old neighborhood, where the buildings hide the sun, where trains and buses run. I found a daisy, I found a daisy in the city. I found a daisy in the city. A girl as lovely as her name. Though she grew up on the street, she stayed so fresh and sweet. My pretty daisy, I found a daisy. And when she smiles, spring is in the air. She takes my hand and I don't have a care. Let me tell you now, I found a daisy in the city. Down in the streets, I picked a flower. There'll be a garden here as long as she stays near. I found a daisy, I found my daisy in the city. I found my daisy in the city.
We'll send that one out to Lee Michael Dempsey. He likes that tune there by Barry Darvell. I like the tune also. May 1965, I Found a Daisy, parenthesis, in the City. That one there on World Artist Records. That's a pretty cool tune. Reminds me of a Richie Adams record on the Congress label. I forget what that is. It's a song very similar to that. Johnny G's here in Vinyl Treasure Overtime. I'm playing 1960s 45. Now, in the August 14th, 1965 edition of Billboard magazine, there was an article about a new label that came on the scene back in August of 65. It was called Turntable Records. Now, it announced that its first product was to be released, and it was a new independent label where retailer Sam Goody is the major stockholder, announcing releases by artists like George Smith and Susan King, and other artists under contract included Vince Carey, Bobby Ham, Gay Jamison, and Susan Raffi. Now, it also mentions that producers that have furnished sides for the label included Earl Robinson, Larry Lucy, O.D. Jameson, and Robert Banks, and others, by the way. But so what does all this mean? But it means a twin spin on the Turntable record label by one of those singers, and I picked out Vince Carey, that I can't find any information on this guy. I don't know who he is, but I can't find any info, but he had two releases on the the label. Let's give a listen to his first. It was written by one of the guys they mentioned, O.D. Jameson and Robert Banks, who also arranged it. So this is the first of two of our twin spin by Vince Carey from September 65 on turntable. It's called Don't Worry.
It may seem strange, the things that I do. People may see me with one girl or two. Oh yeah, but don't worry. No, no, don't worry. I belong to you. I belong to you. People gonna talk. They're gonna talk anyway. They're just my friends. Forget what they say, or just forget it. But don't worry. No, no, don't worry. I belong to you. I belong to you. Happiness is within our reach. I wanna let you know it, yeah. Our love is so strong, baby. Let's show it. All people gonna talk. Just forget what they say, because we're together, together to stay. Just me and you, but don't worry. No, no, don't worry. I belong to you. I belong to you. Baby, don't you worry. I said I belong.
That's the first of our twin spin by Vince Carey, September 1965. That's his first release on the turntable record label, Don't Worry. Let's go to the second twin spin here, arranged and produced. This one arranged and produced by Robert Banks. This one written by Lou Kaz. Second of two for Vince Carey. This one from March of 1966 on turntable records. This side's called First Glance Romance.
First glance of romance, that's how I was. And from that first glance, I fell in love. And ooh, baby, what you did that day when you stood standing, looking so heavenly. And ooh, honey, I knew, yeah, it had to be you. It had to be you. From that first look, my heart was had. I was shocked, and I'm so glad. And I tell you, baby, the look was in your eyes, and I know, sugar, you had me hypnotized. And then, well, then it began, yes, when you felt it too. You felt it too. Well, when I looked into your eyes, it was so very plain to see that you were gonna be mine. Easy as a 1, 2, 3. Well, let me tell you about my first glance romance. That's all it took. She stole my heart with just one look, and I tell you, baby, I never thought I'd be the kind of a fellow to fall so easily, but ooh, when I saw you, honey, I knew it had to be you. Well, let me tell you how I feel.
We complete our twin spin on the turntable record label. And Daryl, this is the turntable. These are numbered sequence 700. The first one that we played, Don't Worry, was 712. This one was 717 from March of 1966. Vince Carey there on turntable. First Glance Romance is the name of that one. Now here's a flip side from the last 60s show by a group called the Fuller Brothers. They had 3 releases on the Monument label. I played the A side of their third. It was called Big Church Wedding. Let's flip that 45 over, as this side was also penned by Bud Carson and Bobby Russell. This one from March of 67. Give a listen to the Fuller Brothers on Monument, a song entitled Down. Dave the Rave sold me that record. He did. I didn't have it, but that's a cool B-side there by the Fuller Brothers. The Fuller Brothers, as I lost my place here. Fuller Brothers there, March 1967. That's a B-side to Big Church Wedding, the song entitled Down on the Monument record label. Let's continue here. Let's make a trip to Chicago, Illinois for this female singer by the name of Geraldine Jones. Now, her debut 45 came out on the Starset label in 64, but let's give a listen to her next release, which I think was a sister label to Starset. This is called Sonar Records. Now, this is the intended B-side, arranged by Charles Handy. This one from September 1965. Her name is Geraldine Jones. Sonar Records, a song entitled I'm Cracking Up.
I stare at your picture on the wall, and I know you won't be back at all. As these tears dim my view, I can't get over losing you. I'm cracking up. Don't you know I'm cracking up over losing
That's a cool tune there. Geraldine Jones, September 65 release. It's on the Sonar label out of Chicago, Illinois. I'm Cracking Up is the name of that tune. I was cracking up today at the dinner. I had a birthday dinner with Barbara tonight, and I was cracking up. She was cracking me up, but this is my birthday weekend, and I got a party tomorrow. Some relatives from Italy are coming up, actually her relatives, but and then I'm gonna have a relax. I might have to do work on Monday, but I don't like to do that anyway. I'm just digging on these cool 60s songs, so let's continue here for a little more. Now, this next singer-songwriter, he's from Montreal, Canada. His real name is Andrew Uacom. Did I say that right? Andrew Uacom. But he would co-write the number one song for the Archies, a song called Sugar Sugar. Don't tell Hi-Fi Tim that was one of the first records I ever purchased on my own. I bought 2 records at Sears and Roebuck in White Plains, New York. I bought that record, and I bought Little Woman by Bobby Sherman. Don't tell my group harmony collectors. Don't say that anyway. But he co-wrote the tune Sugar Sugar for the Archies, but he's mostly known for 2 songs of hits of his, Baby I Love You, a cover of the Ronettes song, and that was 1969 or so. And then in 1974 had a number 1 hit with a tune called Rock Me Gently on the Capitol label. I bought that record too. I did. But anyway, here's his second of 11 releases on Jeff Barry's Steed label. He co-wrote this with Jeff Barry. This one charted number 2 on WHLO out of Louisville, Kentucky. Let's go back to July of 1968 for Andy Kim. Andy Kim on the Steed label. It's called Shoot 'Em Up, Baby.
Girl, I love you, you know I do, and I do not doubt that you love me too. But you're so young, your life's just begun. Something tells me there'll come a day when you just might wonder what slipped away while you've been with me, and you will want to be free. So shoot 'em up, baby. Shoot 'em up, baby. Shoot 'em up, baby. Get on out, shoot 'em up. Shoot 'em up. Shooter, shooter, come on, shoot 'em up, baby. Shoot 'em up, baby. If I lost you now, I would surely cry, but to lose you later, you know I'd die. Don't misunderstand, girl, I have nothing planned. You should go where the lights are bright and make all the scenes and stay out all night and have no fear. Girl, I'll be right here. Shoot 'em up, baby. Shoot 'em up, baby. Shoot 'em up, baby. Get on out, shoot 'em up. Shoot 'em up. Shooter, shooter, come on, shoot 'em up, baby. Shoot 'em up, baby. Shooter, 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 shoot 'em up, baby. Shoot 'em up, baby. Go on and spread your wings and fly. Try to touch the sky, but keep your powder dry. Shoot 'em up, baby. Shoot 'em up, baby. Shoot 'em up, baby. Get on out, shoot 'em up. Shoot 'em up. Shooter, shooter, come on, shoot 'em up.
That was the second of 11 releases on the Steed label for Andy Kim, July 1968. Shoot 'em Up, Baby. Came out on the Steed record label. Now, Hi-Fi Tim has to understand at the time when we're listening to these records when they're new on the radio, that's really the only thing we had to listen to. And in retrospect now, when you go back to all these decades of music, you can make decisions now on what do you think are good songs now in all these years that we've been listening to these records. So for me, you know, I gravitate back. It's not like I really love the early 1950s. I mean, I can appreciate the vocal styles of it and really appreciate any work of art, but there are certain records that do stick with me that I really like, and even into the 60s and into the 1970s and even to the 80s. You get into the 90s is a little bit different there for me, but in retrospect, you know, a lot of the 70s stuff, they were different. They were like these pop records that we were all listening to at the moment. So we could have, it's easy for us to evaluate now, Hi-Fi Tim, but when you're hearing these songs, when you hear Sugar Sugar at the time, I mean, it was bubblegum. I mean, I like Simple Simon Says. He won't let me play that on the show, but anyway, I should do an all bubblegum special. Ramtown Mike wanted me to do that. Anyway, let's continue here. We are in Vinyl Treasure Overtime. I have another flip side from the last 60s show by a group from Mansfield, Ohio. They're called Wildlife. I played the side called This Is What I Was Made For. It was a Sloan Barry Penn tune. And the flip side is written by Richie Cordell. This was first recorded by Tommy James and the Shondells on his Getting Together LP. But let's give a listen to this cover version by a group called Wildlife. It features Jim Krause on lead. Let's go to June of 1967, Wildlife on Columbia, with their cover of the tune Sometimes I'm Up, parentheses, Sometimes I'm Down.
Thoughts of me are in need of correction. You've got to realize that love can't be perfection. I'm what you want, but you don't know just what I mean when I say every day can't be the same, 'cause I'm not a machine. Oh, I'm trying not to tell you, hoping that it gets through. Sometimes I'm up, sometimes I'm down, sometimes I'm up, sometimes I'm down. Your lack of understanding in this situation has cast a dim light on this once so fine relation. You doubt my love because my ways are not routine, but you can't plug me in and I'll begin, 'cause I'm not a machine. Oh, I'm trying not to tell you, hoping that it gets through. Sometimes I'm up, sometimes I'm down, sometimes I'm up, sometimes I'm down, sometimes I am up, sometimes I am down, sometimes I am up, sometimes I am down. Sometimes I am up, sometimes I am down, sometimes I am up, oh, sometimes I am down, sometimes I am up, oh, sometimes I am down, sometimes I am up.
Cover tunes here on the Vinyl Treasure Show. That tune written by Richie Cordell for Tommy James and the Shondells, done by Wildlife there. June 1967 on Columbia Records. Sometimes I'm up, parentheses, sometimes I'm down. Johnny G up and down with the 60s 45s every Saturday from 10 to midnight here on Vinyl Treasures. We are in overtime. Now let's stay with the flip sides from the last 60s show. I featured the intended B-side of this 45 on the last 60 60's Show. It was called Don't Stop the World for Me, as done by Bert Deshay, who began recording back in 1960 for the United Artists record label. Let's flip it over, give a listen to the intended A-side before I file it back down in the No Humidity basement. This one on Diamond Records out of New York City from April 1966. Bert Deshay on Diamond. It's called Anchors Away Girl.
I don't know how to tell you what I have to, 'cause baby it's so hard to say. Please understand and try to keep from crying when I say I'm going away. For though I do adore you, there's one thing I gotta put before you. I can go away. My country needs me now. I can go away. I'm a shipping out. We shared a love so very warm and tender, the kind of love that's hard to find. And though my ship may sail across the ocean, I'm gonna leave my heart behind. So please wait for me, baby, till I come back home from the Navy. I can go away. My country needs me now. I can go away. I'm a shipping out. So baby, don't you cry now. Just kiss your sailor boy goodbye now. I can go away. My country needs me now. I can go away. I'm a shipping out. I can go away. My country needs me now.
His name's Bert Deshay, D-A-C-H-E. April 66 release on the New York City Diamond record label, Anchors Away Girl. That's the intended A-side of the 45. We'll do a couple more here in Vinyl Treasure Overtime. I know nothing about this next group. I have two 45s on this label. It's the Clock label. It's not the Dave Baby Cortez label, although maybe it is a derivative of the label, I don't know, but it definitely looks different. They're on a pink color Clock label. It has a little clock up on the top, but one of the groups on that I have on this label is called the New Loves, a girl group. The other is this group, and they're called Little Nat and the Etiquettes. And I'm guessing this is a release from 1965. Now, this is the intended B-side of the 45. It's on Clock Records. Let's give it a spin here. Little Nat and the Etiquettes, a song entitled Blah, Blah, Blah.
Hey girl, I want you to dig yourself before you be by yourself. Because when you are by yourself, baby, you are alone. So it's best for you to get in a corner and just what? Shut up! Shoo! Hey. Nosy peoples have nothing to do. Sit around and talk about you. They put your name up on the post and broadcast your business from coast to coast. Just a blah, blah, blah. Every day, hey. It's just a blah, blah, blah. Every night. It's just a show. It's just a blah, blah, blah. Like the peoples from the Daily News, always out and crying the blues. And when things ain't going right, they turn and talk about, are you there now? matter everything you see. They talk about you and they talk about me. I wonder will these people ever change their mind? Instead they just a blah blah all the time. I give you the best of things. I put you in a fine crib. Don't give me no lip. Shut up! You should have thought of these things a long time ago. Give me your back talk. I give you everything, woman. What do you want? Shut up!
From 1965 there, Little Nat and the Etiquettes. It's on the Clock record label. Blah, blah, blah is the name of that one. Ever deal with somebody, blah, blah, blah. There you go. Johnny G here in Vinyl Treasure Overtime. Let's continue here. This next singer, born Agatha Weston, signed with Motown Records back in 1963, had a number of releases on the Tamla and Gordy labels. Her biggest hits were Take Me for a Little While in 1965 on the Gordy label, and It Takes Two, a duet she did with Marvin Gaye on the Tamla label. Here's her second of 7 on the Tamla label, written and produced by William Stevenson and Rona R. White. We go to October of 63. We go back a little bit to 63 for Miss Kim Weston. Kim Weston on Tamla, a song entitled Another Train Coming.
Some other guy will be waiting. I've been sitting here anticipating, for I knew the day would come when you'd leave, so I'll just say goodbye, 'cause you deceived me. There'll be no coming back, 'cause there's another train coming. There's another train coming down that same old track. Can't you hear it? I'm gonna cheer it. That other train. Oh, another train. Oh, there's another train coming down that same old track. I've known now for a while that you'd leave me. My mother told me men would deceive me, and she told me long ago, if your man wants to leave, let him go. But I won't take you back. There'll be no coming back, 'cause there's another train coming. Oh, there's another train coming. There's another train coming down that same old track. Oh, there's another train coming. You know there's another train coming. Yeah, there's another train coming down that same old track. Can't you hear that?
Sound of Motown here on the Vinyl Treasure Show. Kim Weston there, October 1963, the second of 7 on the Tamla label. Another train coming is the name of that one here. And here's a singer born in Norfolk, Virginia, but he was raised in New York City. Started his recording career in 1961 on the Leopard label, but had releases on other labels: Ascot, Donnell, Parkway, Bell, ABC, GSF, and he's best known for his 1970 hit on the ABC label, Hey There, Lonely Girl. But here's the B-side to his second of six on the Parkway record label, a song he co-wrote with his writing partner, James Solomon. Let's go to April of 1966. Give a listen to Eddie Holman. Eddie Holman on Parkway, and his tune called Eddie's My Name.
Listen, all you girls, to what I have to say. Hey, I don't drive a big black car. I don't dress like a movie star. I don't live in Hollywood. I wouldn't change my life if I could. The way I live gives me the chance to see and view this world firsthand. And every place that I go, girls gather round because they know Eddie's my name. Pleasing girls is my game. Eddie's my name. Pleasing all you girls is my game. I said that Eddie's my name. I can't afford to pay my rent. All the money I get is spent to keep you girls so happy and gay, to keep you coming and running my way, because Eddie's my name. Pleasing girls is my game. Eddie's my name, and pleasing all you girls is my game. I said that Eddie's my name. Eddie's my name. Pleasing girls is my game. Eddie's my name, and pleasing all you girls is my game. Oh yes it is. If you want, you can call me a fool, but deep inside I know it's not true, because I dedicate my life, you see, to keep girls happy, to keep girls pleased, because Eddie's my name. Pleasing girls is my game. Eddie's my name, and pleasing all you girls is my game. I said that Eddie's my name.
Cool tunes here in the Vinyl Treasure Overtime. Eddie Holman there. April 1966 releases on the Parkway label. Song entitled Eddie's My Name. That is the B-side of the 45, the second of six on the Parkway record label. How about a twin spin on the Parkway label out of Philadelphia, PA, as this singer recorded two for the label. He co-wrote this song with Kenny Gamble. His name is Joe Graves. Let's go to September of 1966. Joe Graves on the Parkway label. It's called parentheses, That's How a Boy and Girl Falls in Love.
You take a girl and a guy, a moon in the sky, a bench in the park just before it gets dark. Birds in the trees singing sweet melodies. That's how a girl, that's how a girl and boy fall in love. Oh yeah, Take the cool summer air, kiss him in there, but you do it upright before you tell her good night. While you look up, there's a pain in your a girl, yeah, that's how they fall in love. But before you know, there's one thing that's on your mind. So you take her down and you buy her a ring, and you both reminisce of the time you had a girl and a guy, that moon in the sky, that bench in the park just before it got dark. There's no juice in his sweet melodies. Oh yeah, that's how they fall in love.
September 66 release there for Joe Graves. Joe Graves on the Parkway record label. That's How a Boy and Girl Falls in Love is the name of that one. And he has others that came out on the Rack, RCA, and TJ record label. Two more 45s to go before Johnny G shuts down here on the All 60s edition. And before this artist from Chicago went solo, he was the lead for a group called the Duquesnes. His real name is Eugene Dixon. Has so many great solo releases on many different labels, mainly on the VJ, Constellation, Checker, Brunswick, and Mercury labels. Here's the second of 9 he recorded on Brunswick Records, which only made it up to number 98 on the Billboard charts, did better on the R&B chart, number 46 on the R&B chart, but it was a big number 8 record on WCOH out of Houston, Texas. You know I'm talking about Mr. Gene Chandler. This one from August 67, Gene Chandler. It's on Brunswick Records, a song entitled There Goes the Lover.
Crying, got to bid goodbye.
I love that tune there by Gene Chandler. So does Andrew Turner. August 1967 release on the Brunswick record label, the second of 9 on Brunswick. There Goes the Lover, the name of that one. That's going to do it for Johnny G and the Vinyltreasure Show. I want to thank you for joining Johnny G, listening to cool original 60s 45s out of my collection. You want to get in touch with Johnny G, please send me an email at vinyltreasures@aol.com. Tell me if you're digging on these cool 60s records. You can try to send me a request for the 60s stuff. If I find them, I will play them. I have quite a few 60s records in my collection. I just have to find them. We're going to be working on a lot of requests for all you. Thank you, folks, for sending them. I also have requests on this 50s show, so I enjoy to form the show around your requests. I like to do that. So again, thank you for tuning in, and hope you enjoyed a lot of the tunes I featured tonight. I'm not going to like every song I play, but at least the majority of them, they are pleasant to hear, I have to say. But thank you so much. Our closer tonight, you all know this gal, originally from Hazel, Kentucky, had so many hits through the years, born Sharon Myers. Now, her debut single came out in 1959 on the Glen label. Then she relocated to Los Angeles in 1960, and she has written over 600 songs in her lifetime. Now, her two biggest hits were in 1965 What the World Needs Now, and in 1969 Put a Little Love in Your Heart, and both came out on the Imperial record label. Now here is her 6th of 20 releases on the Imperial label. It's a song she wrote. We go back to December of 1966. Our closer is by Jackie DeShannon on Imperial. It's called Find Me Love. That is the closer tonight. Again, thank you so much for sticking around to my 1960s show, and I'll be back next Saturday night. Tune in tomorrow evening starting at 9 p.m. for my buddy Dave the Rave and his Relics and Rarities show. Dave will be back. He was not here last week. He'll be here this Sunday night, so tune in to Dave. Plus, a lot of you might not have to work on Monday, so he might stay a little later. Maybe he will. He usually does that sometimes. But anyway, hope you enjoyed the tunes tonight. Thank you, Charlene, again for all your help with this show, as you always do. Help me out. So important to Johnny G. Again, folks, thank you so much. I'll be here next Saturday at 10 p.m., 10 to midnight for 50s and early 60s. So if you like that, tune in next Saturday. Everybody have a great Labor Day weekend, not Memorial Day. Relaxing the Labor Day. Johnny G's off Monday, but I might be working. I don't know. But anyway, again, thank you so much for tuning in. I'll see you next Saturday. Just want to say, everybody, so long.
Find me love.
Okay, folks, thank you so much again for sticking around. Much appreciated. Had a great time. I love listening to these 60s records. There's Jackie DeShannon. Some of these styrene records, they play so terrible. I wish I didn't have a chance to really test play. I mean, when I purchased them, unfortunately. But if I'm not spending a lot of money, it doesn't really make a difference, really. I could try to upgrade. I've been trying to. But I've been purchasing less, as I said I don't like paying that sales tax on the records. It's like, it's too much money. It's hard enough I bid on these 45s, let alone I got to now pay 8.5% more. It's crazy. So, I mean, I got people that sell to me privately, which is going to work, and I have to go to record shows, really. But I'm saving a little bit of money, but I got so many records. It's like crazy. But again, thank you folks for sticking around. I will have a great, hopefully you're off on Labor Day on Monday and relax. I will see you here next Saturday for more 50s and early 60s stuff. Thanks again, sticking around, guys. I really appreciate it. And thank you so much for your correspondence and for your thoughtfulness on the show and your appreciation. Take care, guys. I'll see you next week. Bye-bye.